Greetings, gents. Welcome to episode 16 of Econoclasm. And, well, we've already had mistakes in this presidency, this term, I should say. But Trump's taking a few L's lately, and it's time to call him out for it. Because, like I said, I think in the post-election episode, that yeah, I voted for him, but I'm also going to go at him when he deserves it. And boy, does he right now. He's showing a lot of first-term Trump in this. I'm going to talk about two things. The situation with Thomas Massie, the best member of Congress, and then the whole situation with the deportation of the Colombia protester and what is called pro-Hamas protesters. I'm not going to really go into the situation in Yemen right now. I'll probably do the next episode about that. But just stay tuned for that. But yeah, when Trump sucks, I'm going to call him on it. I did it for the tariffs, and I got to do it for these two. And it really is a shame to see. A shame would imply I'm shocked or surprised, I think. But it's definitely a shame to see Trump going after Thomas Massie again, like he did back in 2020 when Massie opposed the COVID spending bills, which, by the way, those were a large contributor to the inflation under the Biden administration. You know, inflation is the increase in the supply of money. And about all the new money that was made during COVID, about half of it came under Trump in the COVID spending bills that Thomas Massie opposed, that Trump was upset with him for. A lot of people like to, pin all the blame of inflation on Biden. He's certainly not blameless, but both Trump and Biden are about half responsible because they both massively increased the supply of money in the economy. And Trump didn't like Massie back then because Massie didn't want to do it, because Massie's actually good for the American people. He is the best member of Congress, arguably one of the only good ones, maybe Rand Paul. I'm blanking on any others right now. I'm definitely not Ted Cruz. Yeah, probably just those two right now. But the same situation is happening here, where Massie opposed a massive spending bill, and Trump went after him for it. Both times, in 2020 and now in 2025, Trump was saying that Massie should be primaried. And he tried to primary him back then, and it failed miserably. Probably will fail miserably this time if he actually tries. But it really shows just what Trump truly is. He went all off about this terrible spending that Doge is uncovering, and all in the State of the Union he was going after it. But then he wants this spending bill, and now he wants to go after a congressman who opposes it. So, did Trump really care about all this wasteful spending? Because I heard that a lot of it gets refunded with this bill. And it just goes to show that, Trump's not at all small government, efficient government, limited spending. No, because he doesn't try to primary any of these other terrible congressmen for their terrible supportive policies, but who's the one guy he goes after, and when does he go after him? Thomas Massie, when he opposes massive spending. Republicans are supposed to be small spending. Now, in recent years, it seems that they aren't. They're only really low taxes, but still want to keep massive spending. But they just have the same Democrat lie that, taxing the rich will solve the spending issue, or that somehow these tariffs will solve it. Neither one will. I mean, taxing the rich is more something I've seen amongst, more fringe, radical populists than your run-of-the-mill conservatives, but still. And it goes to show that Trump doesn't really care about policy or principles. He just wants loyalty. And he wants this bill passed no matter how awful it is, and so anyone who opposes it is bad and the enemy, and that's why he's going after Massey. The one thing he said in one of the messages about Massey was that Massey is an automatic no vote on just about everything. Yeah, because just about everything in Congress is terrible. Sorry he votes no because you only put shit out there. If I just presented Trump various animal feces for a meal and he kept declining each one, I'm like, oh, Trump just doesn't like anything. Of course not. You want Massey to vote yes on something? Put something out there. And Trump says, oh, well, Massey supported, these bills before. Yeah, he voted yes on one because it was included in across-the-board spending cut. He figured, this is the one decent thing I've seen to cut spending in my time in Congress. Fine. I'll take it so that we have something good. Didn't even get passed. Despite, it being one of the few things Massey voted for, but... No, Trump cares about loyalists. It doesn't matter what horrible policy it is. It doesn't matter if it's going to hurt the country or continue the awful policies that would have been the same under Biden. No, it's just do whatever Trump says. Because at the end of the day, he's just all ego-driven. He doesn't so much care about policy as much. Or if things absolutely do good, it's just he wants to look good. And he wants to have everyone kowtow to him. And he doesn't care if it's good or bad policy. Just agree with Trump, or else we'll go after you. And largely, I don't know if this is really the motivator for Trump. I don't think it is, but Trump's the champion of Make America Great Again and America First. Well, Thomas Massey is more America First and more Make America Great Again than Trump. He and the policies he supports are far more in line with both of those ideas, America First and Make America Great Again, than Trump's policies are. But, again, Trump doesn't care. It's just, what does Trump want? Oh yeah, he'll use the phrases, but if it conflicts with it, but Trump wants it, doesn't matter. I mean, there's a pretty good chance that a big part of the reason of this is that Massey is very opposed to what Israel's doing in Gaza and is harshly opposed to AIPAC, the American Israel Political Action Committee. He went on Tucker Carlson and basically called them out and said he's the only member of Congress who doesn't have an AIPAC person because he just completely turns them away. Or the only Republican member of Congress, should I say, to keep the facts straight. And it could very well be because Trump received $100 million from Miriam Adelson, who is a businesswoman who has, I don't know if she has Israeli citizenship, but she is very pro-Israel. Her Wikipedia page says she has Israeli nationality. I don't know if that means she's just, ethnically Israeli considered, or if she has citizenship there, but she's obviously very pro-Israel. And Trump got $100 million from her, and now Trump's going after one of the only members of Congress who stands against Israel, who is actually America first, and actually make America great again, unlike Trump. Who, a lot of his policies do align with that, but not entirely. He doesn't hold those policies, without fault. He certainly goes against both of them his fair share, especially in his first term, and still here in his second term. It's just funny that Trump is going after the only decent member of Congress. No one else, just Thomas Massie. Whether it be because he doesn't bow to Israel, or he isn't just a "yes sir, Mr. Trump" on everything. No, he opposes the really bad shit that Trump supports. And that makes Trump angry. And it shows a lot of why I went after Trump for so long, and why he deserved a lot of the shit he got from, the right, libertarians, really anyone who had any sort of principles. And principles don't matter. What matters is, doing well for the country. Well, yeah, Trump doesn't do that, like I said. Inflation was largely his fault. And he didn't like Thomas Massie because he was against what ended up causing all this inflation. So, GG. Which is one of the many ways Trump isn't as good as people says he is. Granted, he's a lot better than, hang on, I gotta figure out the right way to pronounce her name because I want to say it. Better than Kamala Harris. And yes, I went out of my way to find out how to say it the way that people said not to say it, because fuck her and fuck them. But yeah, if Kamala had gotten elected, we'd probably all be dead right now. Unironically. Or at least a large number of us. But still, that doesn't mean Trump doesn't suck. Doesn't mean this isn't a massive problem, that he doesn't deserve to get shit on for it. Massey's probably the best politician in the United States right now. And if he were president for 8 years, this country would be infinitesimally better off than what Trump is going to accomplish in his 8 years as president. And it's probably going to end up hurting Trump politically. Now, he doesn't have to face re-election again, but he does still have 3.5 years, more than, of a presidency and midterms and all that coming up, because, like I said in the Libertarian Voting Bloc episode, if libertarians are turning away from supporting the LP and just voting for where they think the better candidate is, they really like Thomas Massie. A lot of people have stood up for Thomas Massie and listen, no, Trump, we're not going to let you talk shit on him. We're not turning against Massie, because he's actually really good. And he actually supports the things that should be supported. And so the Libertarian Voting Bloc could be like, no, okay, well then we're not coming out in the midterms. And what if we don't come out in 2028 for whoever your successor is? It's probably going to be J.D. Vance, because Trump wants to suck so bad. It's just annoying how Trump is so ego-driven and stupid in a lot of ways. And this really shows it. And I can't wait to see Thomas Massie crush the worthless Trump loyalist who tries to run against him in the primaries. It's also funny that Massie's had his best fundraising since Trump went after him. So good job, Trump. And I don't want to hear from any of you retarded radical Trumpers that, oh, this is Trump's 4D chess. He wanted Massie to have all this fun. No, don't try it. So, yeah. Best of luck to Thomas Massie. Trump, shut the fuck up. Now, for the other issue that Trump's really taking a massive L on is just his attitude towards the anti-Israel protests across college campuses or across the U.S. in general. I know one of the points he brought up where he had in like his some list of policies he wanted to do if he won a second term he put out last year was to deport pro-Hamas radicals. And now he's saying that again, that he wants to deport, people from foreign countries who are pro-Hamas, even if they're not necessarily here illegally. Still, he wants to get them out. But the problem here is exactly what's defined as pro-Hamas. Because it pretty much just means critical of Israel. Yeah, there's probably some people out there who are genuinely pro-Hamas. I certainly not, definitely no. But it's ridiculous to equate the two. And you're doing the same thing as the left does with so many other things. They're just complete retards on how they view or argue politics with anything related to identity. If you say, if you say something like, I don't think men who identify as women should be allowed in, women's restrooms, women's locker rooms. Like, oh, so you just want to kill all trans people. It's on that level of retarded. Hey, I'm critical of Israel bombing civilians in Gaza. Oh, so you're pro-Hamas. Fuck off. It's just a retarded statement. And you're giving a lot of credit to the anti-Israel side. You're giving a lot of fuel. Because they're saying, like, look, you can't be critical of Israel at all, or they'll equate you with supporting terrorism. That's how radical the Israel side is. You're either with us or you're with the terrorist. And that makes the terrorist look better. It's the same thing as equating being against what the Israeli government or the IDF does as anti-Semitic. Again, the same thing the left does with, racist, transphobic, homophobic. Where you just equate logical positions with hate. The left will say, oh, you don't want to date a man in a dress? Well, you're transphobic. You don't want to teach 5-year-olds how to have gay sex? Well, you're homophobic. Oh, you don't want babies being blown up? Well, you're anti-Semitic. I'm going to offer a bit of a tip to the pro-Israel side. Don't conflate opposition to the Israeli government with anti-Semitism and hatred of Jews. Because that's going to make anti-Semitism look better and more logical. If you make it appear that anti-Semitism is so integral, or opposition to Israel, bombing civilians, is anti-Semitic. You make it seem like bombing civilians is integral into being Jewish. And what does that mean for a lot of people? Oh, that comes off as Jews are genuinely evil. If it's an essential part of Jewishness to bomb civilians, as declaring it anti-Semitic to oppose it makes it seem like, then yeah, people are going to be a lot more willing to hate Jews. Or they're going to say, hey, I've been called anti-Semitic for this perfectly reasonable position. So when genuine anti-Semites show up, they're going to say, hey, I've been called anti-Semitic too, so you guys are all right with me. And then when these people, get into power and like, let's kill all the Jews, but like, that's not what I wanted. But because they're not actually anti-Semitic, they don't hate Jews. But you make it seem like it's not genuine. You make anti-Semitism not seem like what anti-Semitism actually is. You're watering down the term, and you give cover for people who genuinely are those things. And I've seen it online, at least, where people see opposition to Israel being called anti-Semitic, and it makes them genuinely anti-Semitic because they see how much Jews cover or act like it's an attack on them personally for just opposing things like bombing civilians. It's like, maybe there is something wrong with Jews if that's anti-Semitic. If that's anti-Semitic, then okay, I'll be anti-Semitic. And then they are softened on further genuine anti-Semitism. So if it's a really bad idea to keep this going. But the right seems to have a massive problem with it. And that's what they're doing with calling, these protests against the Israel and the IDF and how they're conducting the war with being pro-Hamas. And they're trying to make them look worse than they actually are to justify getting rid of them because the Republican Party is basically just a servant of the Israeli government at this point. Like I said with Thomas Massie, there's a good reason, one of the big reasons Trump is going after him is because he's he's a anti-APAC, opposed to how Israel's conducting the war, and you can't be, opposed to anything with Israel. You have to be a complete green light, rubber stamp, rah rah, go Israel, or else you're an enemy of the Republican Party. Trump's exactly that same way. And even when people say that, oh, well, he's just trying to deport, illegal immigrants who happen to be at these protests, that's not what it is. The Columbia protester is not an illegal immigrant. He has a green card. He's married to an American. So this is not an immigration issue. It's definitely an Israel issue because he's targeting people who are anti-Israel. It's not just, oh, I'm going after illegals and I just happened to nab some at this anti-Israel protest. It's no. They went to the anti-Israel protest and like, let's find someone to get rid of because we need to crack down on this because Israel and AIPAC don't like this. And we serve them. So if it was purely just, hey, we're deporting illegals and we happen to have found some at this protest, then fine, okay. But that's not what's going on. They're specifically targeting people who are critical of Israel. They're probably going after people who are critical of Israel faster than they are genuine violent criminals. Now, I know Trump has deported a lot of violent criminals already, but I can imagine that if there was the same level of violent criminal illegals and anti-Israel illegals, you'd see the anti-Israel illegals being deported faster. Now, that might be because they're more visible. They make themselves visible by protesting and activism, and okay, fine. That's stupid of them. If you're illegal, don't make your... I don't want to give them advice, but it's a stupid thing that if you're already here illegally, that you're making yourself very visible and known. But a big part of how Trump's, taking an L in this is his threatening to remove federal funding for colleges, universities that have quote-unquote illegal protest, which pretty much just conflates to anti-Israel protest. But granted, I'm all for removing federal funding from colleges and universities, just outright. No criteria or interview process or whatever. Just get rid of it all. Privatize education across the board. So I'm not upset that Trump's threatening federal funding. The problem is that he's doing it purely on the grounds of, hey, you need to stop these anti-Israel protests or we'll remove your funding. It's the same thing the left did with wielding the state as a weapon for political purposes. He's not threatening to revoke federal funding because of some principle that the federal government shouldn't be funding state institutions. He's doing it because he wants them to shut down anti-Israel protests. That's all it is. It's purely to protect the image of Israel and because he doesn't want people out there protesting against them. It's not principled. It's just continuing to serve Israeli interest. It would be the exact same thing as if under Biden, he was threatening to remove the funding of colleges that had pro-Israel protests. The right would have been all over that, but because it's the other way around, somehow it's not an issue. And again, I don't care too much about enacting good policies for bad motivation, but it's indicative of an issue where it shows Trump's just a lackey of Israel and Netanyahu, like the entire U.S. government is, and all the presidents since Truman really have been. And it shows a wider issue for conservatives where their support for free speech stops when Israel is involved. You see this with Ben Shapiro, the midget who can't arouse his wife, where he built his career off of fighting identity politics, but you're critical of Israel and, oh, you're anti-Semitic. That's all it is, it's anti-Semitism. Just a complete 180 where free speech and being opposed to identity politics don't matter anymore because Israel's involved. Conservatives were so worried about free speech on college campuses for years when they were the ones getting attacked, but now someone is critical of Israel. Oh, well, now we have to shut down free speech. Now we have to get rid of an integral right of being an American and being a person. Your right to freedom of speech. Now free speech doesn't matter because that free speech is being used against Israel. Again, Trump's just a lackey of Israel. And the one thing you really need to look at is he's doing this for anti-Semitism, but have you ever seen him do this for hatred of whites across college campuses? He's never threatened to revoke funding or deport people for being anti-white. People who will go out there and directly say, I hate whites, whites are evil, being white's a problem, and whites need to go. That's perfectly fine on college campuses. Keep your federal funding, but don't be critical of Israel bombing civilians. Trump's not your based savior of white America or traditionalism. He's an Israeli lackey, and this just proves it. That was one of the big points I said for 4 years under Biden when people were supporting Trump, is he's just going to come back in and be pro-Israel again. Like, amongst these people I saw on the internet who were genuine anti-Semites, who were supporting Trump, and I would say, he's just going to come in and support Israel again. I don't know what you people are so pro-Trump for, and they all, said I was wrong, and, Trump just had to be, but now he's not going to, and then he just comes in and does this again. If you wanted to deport illegals, fine, I'm all for that. Get them out. But this Colombia protester, whose name I can't remember, give me a sec. Mahmoud Khalil, which, not the best sounding name, but he wasn't an illegal. They just went after him because he was anti-Israel. Again, I'm all for getting rid of federal funding to colleges, but just do it across the board, regardless of what's going on there. But it's only being threatened for those who are anti-Israel. And it shows where the true loyalty of Trump and conservatives lie. It's Israel, not the United States, not, whites. Whites are allowed to have in-group preference. I'm allowed to prefer whites over others. It's not racist. It's retarded to think it is, and fuck you if you think it is. But these people support Israel primarily, above anyone else. Again, it goes back to Thomas Massey is actually America first. Trump isn't, and this shows that Trump isn't. He never threatened to do this when, Black Lives Matter was burning down half the country over a drug addict who died in police custody. No, it's all, you gotta protect Israel. You gotta do what Israel wants. Trump's just an Israeli lackey. And he sucks in a lot of ways. Now, he's done, I would argue, more good this presidency than last one. This term than last one. But these two issues are really showing who Trump really is, and the inherent problems moving forward with how he's going to act. He's going to be big government. And yes, populist, big government does suck. I don't care what you think or say. Hopefully Trump turns around on these issues, but I don't think he's going to. Because Trump really doesn't like to admit he was wrong. Remember, he bragged about the COVID vaccine campaign stops after the 2020 election, when he was campaigning again for 2024. He bragged about that because it was partly done under his watch, and he can never be wrong. But we'll see. And now we got the whole Yemen situation thing going on. But that'll be for probably the next episode. But lastly, since I can confirm this is coming out on St. Patrick's Day, even though it's going to be very late on St. Patrick's Day, just want to say happy St. Patrick's Day and fuck the British. Until next time.